Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hi viewers, welcome to HVAC Simplified. The today's topic of the day is airflow balancing procedure. In order to do any airflow balancing, you need to first follow few steps. So let us understand the steps which are required to achieve any airflow balancing. Step 1 is equipment selection. The first important thing which is required for any HVAC system to get it equipment selected, which means what type of equipments which will be required for a particular project. For example, fan coil units, air handling unit or package unit. These are the three basics equipments which will be requiring for any selections. Step 2 will be heat load calculation. When the heat load calculation is performed, the basic parameters such as airflow, which will be in CFM or liter per second, will be determined. The main parameter which we'll get from the any heat load calculation is the supply air. Now you need to know supply air, return air, exhaust air and fresh air. Now let us understand with an example. Here let us understand with a simple example of a supply airflow of an example taken from a simple apartment which has a living room, dining room, bedroom, hall, kitchen and toilet. Now on the right hand side you can see the required CFM airflow for each and every zone. So now the total of all becomes 1800 CFM. Now on the next you have to see the what is the return airflow requirement. Now as you can see the return airflow requirement of a living room, dining room, bedroom, hall, whereas the kitchen and the toilet there will not be any return. So the total return air required will be 1600. So now as you can see there is a less 200 CFM which is of amount of fresh air which needs to be required in the system. Now as you can see the kitchen and the toilets will be having exhaust. So the exhaust requirement of a kitchen is 200 CFM and the toilet is 75 CFM. So therefore the total exhaust requirement of this particular zone is 275 CFM. Now as you can see the exhaust CFM is more than the fresh air which is required. So therefore the total amount of fresh air which will be required in this particular system will be 275 CFM. Now let us understand here with an example where I can explain you in details. Now if you can see we have taken an example of a package unit. So now the supply air is 1800 CFM which is now again divided into each particular zones. Now here you can see that we have taken an example of the same zones where the supply air is provided by the packaged air conditioning unit. Each and every zone will be having its supply air and each and every zone will be having its return air going back to the packaged air unit. Now if you can see the return air is 1600 and the supply air is 1800, whereas the fresh air which has to be introduced to the system to compensate the exhaust which is being exhausted from the exhaust zones, which I'll show you now. Now you can see in the exhaust side there is no return air and we have kitchen exhaust fan which is taking out the exhaust air, and we have the toilet exhaust fan which is taking out the exhaust air from the toilet area. So therefore these two areas will not be having any return air because as per the ASHRAE requirement you have to have any zones which is having exhaust. The return will be not be taken from that particular zone and the exhaust air will be taken outside the building. Thank you very much viewers.